All right, today we're talking about Lonzo Ball, the Cavs' biggest offseason splash, if you want to call it that. He's their newest addition. We're going to preview his season today, and this is my second season preview video so far, so go check out my Tyrese Proctor preview if you're interested in that. Make sure that you're subscribed to my channel so you don't miss the rest of my previews and all the stuff that we have coming out for the Junkyard Pod. But Lonzo Ball has to be one of the most interesting members on this team right now. There's a lot of question marks here, and while I don't think anyone expects him to put the Cavs over the top by any means, I do think, when you look at it, the Cavs, they clearly went after Lonzo this season, right? They chose to prioritize getting him over keeping Ty Jerome. They traded Okoro for him. They're counting on Lonzo to be some sort of a difference maker, right? And so for my previews, how this format works, we're going to start by recapping each player's recent history. We're then going to talk about their current strengths and weaknesses, and then we'll lay down a few expectations for them at the end of the video. So with Lonzo Ball, I'm sure everyone is aware, this man had a lot of hype around him coming out of college, right? He was the second overall pick in 2017. Since then, unfortunately, his career has just been plagued by injury after injury. His game has not really developed in any of the key areas that would have made him a superstar. With that said, he has shown a lot of really good elite role player talents. He's shown that when he's healthy, he can be an all-defensive caliber player. His basketball IQ, especially as a playmaker, is 100% elite. So even though Lonzo, his career probably hasn't gone as anyone would have hoped, there's still a lot of potential there for him to really help and contribute to a championship contending team. And when he's on the court, you can count on him to do a lot of very helpful things. The problem is, and the main concern is that he hasn't been on the court. This guy basically missed 3 years with a knee injury that just would not heal. And it wasn't until he underwent this crazy, experimental, never before done in the NBA surgery that Lonzo was able to return last season. Still, he only played 35 games for the Bulls before suffering a separate injury. In those 35 games, he averaged about 7 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. He shot 36% from the floor and only 34% from deep. None of his numbers are going to really impress you. This is not a guy who the stats are really jumping off the page right now. Nonetheless, like I said, Lonzo does have a lot of useful skills, right? He's a great defender. When he's on the court, he's much better on defense than Ty Jerome. In fact, I think you could argue that Lonzo on this roster right now is maybe the third or fourth best defender on the team. He's probably the best perimeter point of attack defender, and so that's big. That's something that, you can definitely use in this backcourt. Lonzo's tall enough he can scale up a bit, defend some wings. He can navigate screens, and he's not going to gamble or put himself out of position. He's just a great team defender that should really help. And on top of all that, he's also a great rebounder too for his position, which is something that, this team has been missing. They haven't been great on the glass whenever the two bigs aren't out there. Lonzo's someone who can help make up for that. And again, Lonzo, he hasn't developed into a very good three-point shooter. That's still a weakness for him. He's not very good at getting to the rim, but despite all that, he does have a great handle, and he can create plays for other people. So there are some areas in which he can make up for this, right? And he's somewhat developed as a three-point shooter. It's not great, but he is willing to take them, and he can make a few if teams leave him open. The problem is he's not going to be a big floor spacer or anything, but he is a more functional shooter than someone like Isaac Okoro, for example. And more importantly, as I've been saying, this is a guy who can really impact the game without scoring, and that's what you need on this bench. Ideally, the scoring is going to be handled by other guys, right? That's why you have Mitchell and Garland. That's where you're hoping Mobley steps up, DeAndre Hunter. What you need from the bench are the little things, and Lonzo Ball does the little things, so I understand the appeal here. With all that said, let's set some expectations and hopes for Ball this season now. First and foremost, let's get out of the way. We need him healthy in the playoffs, right? That's the most important thing. We need him healthy. We need him out there, but we also need a good enough sample size for him in the regular season to actually gel with this team, right? He's a new guy, so we got to see how he fits. If we're able to get, let's say, 40 games from Lonzo in the regular season and then a full playoff run after that, that would be pretty damn incredible. Like, that would be borderline a miracle. So is it realistic that he's going to play all those games? I can't say that. I have no idea if he's going to stay healthy. None of us do. I'd imagine back-to-backs are probably off the table for him at this point. I'm sure there's going to be other injuries that pop up. The Cavs are probably going to play it pretty safe with his health, so I really wouldn't expect him to play more than 40, 50 games in the regular season. But when he is on the court, the other thing that I want to see is that defense really going to shine? Is it going to make a difference? Because the Cavs last year, they slid a little bit in the defensive ratings. If they can get back to their defensive roots, then that would be huge for this team. And I think Lonzo is someone who can help them achieve that. The biggest concern that I have outside of injuries would be what happens to the Cavs spacing when they have Lonzo playing in place of where Ty Jerome was last year. Because the second unit last season was just bombarding teams from deep, right? They were running teams off the floor with those 5-out lineups. lineups, and it took a lot of pressure off of everyone when you could go 5 out, especially that second unit with Evan Mobley out there. You could just let him run loose. But now that you don't have that 5 out lineup as available to you, it could get a little sketchy off the bench. But it's also a give and take thing, right? Because sure, Lonzo might not be able to shoot the ball in the way that Ty Jerome did, but he can distribute it and play make. So maybe he's going to feed and assist Mobley more than Jerome did. It'll come at the cost of spacing, but maybe it'll end up balancing out. So the two things that I'm watching for here are, one, how does Lonzo's three-point shot look? Because he has shot above 40% from deep before, but it's a matter of whether or not teams are actually going to defend him or not. That's going to affect the spacing. And two, is he able to create plays at a rate that, like I said, will make up for any spacing limitations? Because if he's not shooting the ball that well, but he's making up for it by creating plays for others, then it all kind of balances out, right? If Mobley's getting spoon-fed easy dunks, then I'm not going to complain. Again, I think there are serious concerns relying on Lonzo to stay healthy. That's something that I don't feel great about. I think losing a big scoring punch off the bench is going to hurt, but there is a reality where Lonzo is healthy when it matters. He raises the defensive floor for this team and becomes this jack of all trades off the bench who just fits in seamlessly. And as a result, the Cavs make a deep playoff run with him stabilizing the bench. That's something that could happen. You've seen it before. Jrue Holiday on the Celtics, Alex Caruso for the Thunder last year. There's these scrappy, defensive-minded role players that can just make the difference in a title run. That's what the Cavs are hoping for here, and that's something that I've been asking for a long time on this bench, specifically that stability, right? Someone who doesn't play drastically one way or the other on any given night. If you look at Caris LeVert or Ty Jerome, they had these insane highs and lows that really hurt the team because you didn't know exactly what to expect from them. Lonzo should have a more stable baseline. And so I'm on board with Lonzo in Cleveland. I do have some optimism here. I think there's a world where he makes them a better playoff team. It's definitely going to come at a cost to their regular season success, which isn't all that important, but it all hinges on his availability, and that's the main thing that worries me. So that's my preview for Lonzo Ball. If you enjoyed this, then please hit subscribe, drop a like, and leave me a comment with your expectations for Lonzo this season. Thank you for watching, and as always, go Cavs.